What's up, everybody? We are back with another postseason interview of Australian Survivor Titans versus Rebels with the one, the only, the great winner of the season, Feras. He is back on the podcast. How you doing today, Feras?
I'm doing good. A lot better than last time. I think last was absolutely drained, but I think I'm slowly coming back to life. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What have you been up to since the whirlwind of the finale and yeah, what's been going on?
I've been watching every single podcast. I've been doing a few podcasts as well. Did a deep dive, which was absolutely insane. And honestly, just chilling at this point. I think I needed that.
Yeah,
That's good.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Is
you've been a busy guy. We're seeing you on all these podcast videos, man.
It's been insane. I'm trying to do as many podcasts as possible because honestly, I enjoy it. Like a lot of people are saying, like, "Aren't you getting sick of doing podcasts?" I'm like, "No, God, no. I can speak about Survivor all day."
Yeah, absolutely. As like someone who was maybe a fan of Survivor beforehand, what's it like being
Mm.
on the other side of this?
Oh, so weird. Like I've seen like the last couple of seasons of Survivor Australia. Yeah, no, it feels so surreal. Like I think there was one point where me and my mate were just like watching one of the episodes, and he was like, "Bro, that's actually you on TV." I'm like, "I know." So it feels very, very surreal watching myself and also being entertained and being on the edge of my seat, even though I know everything that's going to happen. So yeah, very weird feeling.
Yeah. Now, they say like, you can't when you hear your own voice back, right? It sounds weird to you, like over a message or a phone. Is it the same for watching yourself on TV?
Uh, yes and no. My voice, like, I think completely fine. Seeing myself and how much weight I gained in the beginning, because I ate a bunch of cheeseburgers before going on. So I was like a big, big boy. I was completely horrified to see how I was in the first couple of days. And when they say the camera adds 10 pounds, it definitely does. Very embarrassing.
Well,
Well, that's a perfect segue. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm curious to know kind of how did you prepare? What's your story of getting on the show, the casting process, kind of everything like that for you?
Yeah. So it was the first time I applied, so I got very, very lucky. It was after watching Heroes vs Villains last year, I was like, I could do this. Like, I'd love to test how I'd be on Survivor. And I'd have a few of my friends sort of tell me the same thing. And it was so weird. Like 2 years ago, in like a work meeting, we were just making jokes, seeing which worker would be on which show, and everyone said I should be on Survivor. It's like such a full circle moment. So yeah, applied, long audition process. I think it's about 2.5 months to 3 months of like the whole process from start to finish. And how I prepared, honestly, I just watched half of the All Star season, and I was like, look, if I over prepare for this and I watch a bunch of seasons, I know I'm going to get really in my head about it all,
Mhm.
thinking about all the strategies and like try to copy someone else. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go in, going to go have fun, be myself, and see what new strategies I can come up with. And in terms of the physical preparation, I just ate so much food. I know it's probably not the best strategy, but yeah, no, I ate so much food and I went to the gym a lot. But yeah, that was my preparation.
Yeah, that's great. There's a U.S. Survivor player, Malcolm, who on like his third time going out, he ate a bunch of food, but like was only junk food. So that when like he got out to the
Oh,
island and he was eating fruit and like rice, it was like healthy for him rather than what he had been eating. So it's not the craziest
yeah, it was like a
strategy.
reset to his body.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, good.
absolutely. Yeah. One of the other questions I always love hearing from former players is, right, being on the other side of the television, being in the production of the show. Was there anything that surprised you, being able to see the whole kind of machine from the player's point of view?
Yeah, I didn't realize how many cameras there were going to be.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I first walk onto the challenge, I was like, no, you know what? When we were filming the whole intro with the boats and stuff, I promise you, when I was like on the boat and the boats were going quite fast, I was like, I feel like I'm in a like action movie. There's like speedboats with like cameras, and I was just like, yeah, I can do this. So it was very full on, but I got accustomed to it very quickly, and I thought it was really cool. Like there wasn't a second when I walked onto challenge and I wasn't like surprised. Like it was so many people. Like we don't realize how many people are behind the cameras and how much work they get put into it. Yeah, it's so much work. It's not just one person holding an iPhone and just recording us. It's definitely a lot of work.
Yeah, I remember watching the intro sequence. And it's like, I want to be on the Rebels tribe. You guys are in the speedboats going around. Like, I wouldn't want to be a Titan. I want to be on the Rebels.
No. Trust me. Imagine being in a little speedboat for about 12 hours. You do not. And the Titans, they had a bathroom on their massive freaking
Oh, no way.
And we were just like, yeah. Trust me, you want to be on the Titans, not the Rebels.
Never mind. All right. Well, walk us through a little bit of your how'd you size up like the Titans tribe when you first saw them, maybe you're on the boat, and then what were you thinking of who's on your tribe? Were you like, are we screwed or am I on the best tribe? Like walk me through some of your beginning thoughts.
It was funny because Scotty, when it was the day of filming the whole boat scene is when we all sort of saw who was going to be on our tribe. Because before that, we were just always split up doing like promos here and there. And I remember Scotty, he told me after, he was like, we don't have any big guys in our tribe. And then he sees me and he was like, oh, thank God. And I think I was doing sort of the same thing. I was doing the same thing where I was like trying to see, okay, who were the big boys on the other tribe? I need to see who I need to size up in like the first couple of challenges. And I'm seeing, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's okay. And then all of a sudden, I just see Jaden on like the far left of the boat, and I'm like, who the hell is that? I was like, holy crap! But yeah, look, I was also analyzing them in terms of like strategy, but it's so hard. It's so hard to analyze someone in terms of strategy based on how they look. Like, for example, like Eileen was incredible in the game. So it was Rihanna. Like people that you first glance, you were like, oh yeah, okay, I'm pretty sure I can go further than them or anything like it was completely the opposite, which definitely told me not to judge a book by its cover. But yeah, no, and some were actually accurate. Like I saw Eden, and Eden was so into like the whole. Like, you could tell how happy he was to be there. So I thought, nah, this guy is so excited to be here. He has to be some sort of like massive fan. So yeah, look, definitely couldn't judge a book by its cover, straight out.
Yeah, absolutely. From your other tribe mates after the fact, what were their impressions of you kind of initially?
Kirby could answer that one for you. Apparently, when Kirby first saw me, I looked like I was too cool for everyone. I didn't smile at anyone. And she was like, who's this guy? But the only reason why was because we weren't allowed to interact at all. No smiling, no talking, no nothing before getting onto the challenge. So, yeah, that was funny. I know Alex, before getting onto the challenge, we locked eyes. There's a few like times where you lock eyes with someone and you can't talk, but it's sort of like, yeah, we're going to work together. Obviously, that wasn't the case for a very long time with me and Alex. But yeah, I think, yeah, those were some of the impressions of me. And I went in and I was like, I've got a really bad resting bitch face. So like I look very intimidating when I'm not smiling or anything. So I had to make sure I was smiling as much as possible, but apparently that wasn't enough for Kirby. So
that's how you got the name the Smiling Assassin, right? You had to.
There you go. I had to redeem myself.
So walk us through a little bit of kind of those opening days on the Rebels beach. It looked a little chaotic from what we saw on the screen. What were some of the tribe dynamics happening? Were you playing Twister? I think we talked to Tobias. He said he was not playing Twister. Were you playing Twister on the beach? What was going on?
Okay, yeah. So the first couple of days, I think everyone was lovely in the first couple of days, honestly, and throughout the entire season. But I think everyone was just trying to find their feet in the first couple of days, and it was all over the place. And we were really trying to analyze each other. Like for me, I knew that like from day one, I wanted to align with Garrick because he was someone that was a bit more of a mature guy on the tribe, and I wanted to work with someone that was more mature. But immediately we sort of started to see the divide of like the whole cuddle crew and like the rest of the tribe. Some people went harder than others, like on their first day, which we all know never do. But yeah, no, it was. You could see there were relationships forming very, very quickly, and you could see some people that were just almost like laying low, like Eileen. Eileen was laying low a lot, and she was just watching everyone. So you could tell the type of personalities there were going to be easily from like the first 2 days.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that Survivor players often talk about is, right, you can make a plan and then you get out there and all hell breaks loose and you have to adjust. What was your game plan going in to the season?
I honestly had no game plan.
Yeah.
I really didn't. I just said I'm going to be as sociable as possible, because that's what I feel like I'm best at, and creating relationships very quickly. The only thing I did have in mind was a very specific checklist of an alliance. I said I wanted to align with 3 people. One, I wanted this person to be one of the older people on the tribe, someone more mature, because to me, those are the more loyal ones, the more logical thinkers. So that was Garrick. I also wanted to align with someone that was a bit unorthodox, someone that was a clear outsider in the group. Because to me, if you treat them like a human being and you treat them like, as an equal, again, they will be loyal to you. So that I found that in Raymond, and thankfully, like I got along with Raymond so well. And the third one was I wanted to align with someone that was very quiet, someone that had their cards close to their chest, someone that would observe everyone, someone that seemed very logical, and that was Eileen. So I had a very specific checklist in terms of an alliance, but that's about it in terms of like a game plan.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty damn good game plan. It worked out for you.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So what about early on we see you find the idol, the box, things like that. I have 2 questions for you. One, what's your philosophy on idols? We saw you kind of share it a little bit, I think with Garrick at that point, share it with Raymond later on your second idol. What's your philosophy? And then 2, did you realize you could just throw the box open like Mark did on the Titans tribe?
Can I just say, I could speak about an hour on this whole box opening situation, and there's a very specific reason why that has happened. Okay. I wanted to sort of reinvent how idols are being used. Keep in mind, that wasn't my intention. Like when I found an idol, it wasn't my intention to like tell everyone. It was just cards I got dealt with when I found that first idol, and Kelly coming and Alex coming, and then this whole thing that's happening. Even the second idol, when I found it just with Raymond, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get caught this time, and I'm going to keep it to myself. And then I walk out, where the rocks are near the ocean. And then Alex immediately looks at me far away from Cam. And I'm just standing there. I didn't know what to do with my idol because I couldn't leave it in my pocket because it'd be very, very obvious. Couldn't put it in my underwear because it would just fall right straight through my shorts because they're big idols. They're huge. And I literally didn't know what to do. So I went near the rocks and I just chilled there for like 15 minutes so I can hide the idol underneath a rock and come back to it after. But little did I know, people just don't hang by the rocks. So it looks very suspicious when a person's just sitting by the rocks for 15 minutes. So I put the idol underneath the rock and I go back to camp, and I have to tell Alex because Alex is so suspicious of me already. So I tell him, and then I'm like, let's just tell a few other people and just not show anyone. So I tell Scott, I tell Garrick, and then, word spreads all over. And then he just clicks to me, and I'm like, so long as I just, tell people about my idol and not show anyone, make sure to not show anyone, I feel like that can get me very, very far. And the same thing with like giving the idol to Alex. Like, I don't think people just do that on Survivor. You don't just hand over an idol to someone that you're not that aligned with. And I did it because I knew I had a huge target on my back at that time with Kirby, and Kirby was obsessed with idols, and she hasn't really worked with Alex. So if Alex, the person that doesn't work with Kirby, also has an idol, Kirby's going to go for them. So yeah, it's a very unorthodox way of using and playing idols. But I think, yeah, it definitely worked out in the end. And with the box, so I don't know if I can get into this, but there is a reason why Mark opened up the box the way he did. Trust me, if I could rip it open, I would have ripped it open and thrown it in the ocean. I would have done all of that. But yeah, no, I had to be patient and wait for a key. And yeah, we just never saw that key again.
Enough said. Yep.
That's great. Oh man, yeah. I know.
I'll be honest. I'm just gonna say I lost the key. I lost the key. All right, I lost the key, and then they didn't know what to do, so they were like, "Mark, open up the fucking box." There. All right, there. I said, "Gosh, it's been like on my mind the entire time." You got me, guys.
All right, we're ending the interview here. That's it. We got our sound. That's all we need.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, maybe a future Survivor player is going to find some random key on the beach, not know where it's from. And it's from your season.
And then you can be obsessed with it. What does this key do? and it'll make them lose the game as well. So my legend will live on by blindsiding people.
What I'm really hearing is that was actually your strategy from the get-go. You wanted to lose it. Yeah.
Of course.
Excellent. Well, you mentioned Kirby. One of the other questions we had is, you've talked a lot about your relationship with her, brother, sister, but early season is the feud that's happening. When does that feud really start between the two of y'all?
It was after the Tobias vote off. After the Tobias vote off, Garrick and Eileen, they both tell me, Kirby's going for you. And I'm so confused in my head when they said that. I'm just like, why? I haven't done anything. I haven't done any strategies. I haven't done anything. I'm like, why me? And I remember even asking Scott, I'm like, Scott, can I just know? I'm just curious. Like, am I a bigger player than what I think? What have I done to be targeted this much? And he was like, oh, I don't know. You just seem like you're like the leader. And I'm like, I'm not the leader. Eileen came up with this whole Tobias Alex split. Kirby came up with the whole Peter vote off. I didn't do anything. So yeah, once I started hearing my name, it was like automatically I was like, I need to strike back. I need to make sure I'm in full defense mode. And then once, Alex came to me and he was like, Kirby's trying to get you out. I think you see it in one of the episodes. I look like I want to absolutely burn the whole island down. I look so scary. I'm not doing this for 5 minutes. And so we actually later realized that I think Garrick might have started the whole feud, which is very, very interesting. So I spoke with Kirby, and then Kirby was like, yeah, Garrick told me you were gunning for me. And then Garrick comes to me, and he tells me the exact same thing about Kirby. And then that's how me and Kirby just started, this whole this whole war, which is absolutely insane to think. But good on him. Like if that was the case, good on him. He started like the biggest rivalry in Survivor history.
Yeah, and the ripple effect of that, it's I think every promo
Crazy.
Feras or Kirby who's going home,
I was
every
getting
time.
sick of myself. I promise you, I was getting sick of like Feras. Will Feras get out this time? Or will Kirby be blindside? I was like, come on, guys. We all know.
All right, so speaking of Garrick, we're gonna jump into the swap. So the swap tribe. We see Garrick go home. I think that first tribal council. Walk us through. Like he seemed like he was your right hand man, your closest ally out there. So what's that experience like losing your closest person? And then both he and Eileen were kind of whispering to you, play the idol, play the idol. We talked to Eileen about this. She's like, hey, I acknowledge it was like 2 seconds before you could actually play it. There's no reason you should be convinced at that point, but walk us through that experience too.
Yeah, so losing Garrick, it was the first time I felt like I've lost someone really close to me on the island. So it was so hard. And especially knowing that I could have saved him was a lot harder for me to like take on. And I was filled with rage that night. But I said I wasn't going to show anything. I was never going to show I was bitter at anyone for anything, because in a season like this, it's so fluid. You never know who's going to be your ally in the next tribal council. So I was not closing any doors in that sense. But when Eileen told me to play the idol for Garrick, I was really suspicious of Eileen, because I think that day or the day before, Garrick actually tells me, he says, Eileen and Scotty and me had a conversation about taking you out and taking Kirby out. So the second he said that to me, I was like, okay, Eileen can't be trusted as much as I think. But I still do want to keep her close to me. Like, it's good that I know this information and she doesn't know that I know this information. So I'm already suspicious of Eileen. And come the tribal council, nothing was discussed beforehand. Nothing was discussed about, Garrick, Garrick's name might be, coming up. Nothing. We go into tribal with the expectations we're going to be voting Kirby off with the ex-Titans or the OG Titans. And then the whole thing happens. And yes, Garrick does say, I think I'm in trouble. But I'm the type of person that I refuse to make a big decision if you're not giving me reasoning. If you're not giving me reasoning, you're not giving me logic in a game where people are lying all day, every day, I'm just not going to do it. It's as simple as that. So although Garrick kept saying he's in trouble, Garrick was also seemed to be, like, in my perspective, someone that was really aware and sometimes may come across as paranoid. Because there were times where he said that before and he was completely fine. So I was like, oh, it's just Garrick being Garrick, And then Eileen, when she tells me last minute, like literally, JLP goes and gets the votes, he comes back, and then he says, if anyone wants to play an idol, blah, blah, blah. And then Eileen all of a sudden says, play your idol for Garrick. In my head, I'm like, okay, why are you telling me this such last minute? Why didn't you whisper to me, while the trouble was happening? Tell me what's going on. Why didn't we speak about it before at camp? Like, why so last minute? And to me, that seemed very suspicious. And that's why I asked her. I don't know if you guys remember, but I actually asked her, I'm like, who did you vote for? And then she doesn't reply to me. And I'm like, well, you're not giving me anything. You're not giving me any information. You're telling me to play an idol in the last 10 seconds, which is a huge move. And if I'm wrong, I'm absolutely stuffed. And on top of that, I was already suspicious of Eileen. I'm like, okay, well, she's just trying to flush my idol or something. Turns out, obviously, she was right. But I just wasn't – I'm not the type to make any decision like that without knowing logic or reasoning. So to me, it just didn't make sense to play an idol. If I knew 1000% Eileen's with me, and we spoke about it earlier, 1000%. I'm 100% like playing my idol on Garrick, but it just wasn't enough information for me to make a massive decision like that. Like, I like to analyze things, and the fact that I had literally 10 seconds, I was like, no, I'm not making any hasty decisions in this game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially knowing, that those three potentially had a plot to take you out, take Kirby out. I mean, absolutely. That would take out the possibility of playing an idol if I'm in your shoes. So yeah, that makes
Of
sense.
course.
Which, like, it was
Yeah.
a short-term loss, but that idol became instrumental later at the end of the game. So, like, even better that you didn't play it then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like, yeah, I think how much of an impact it would be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like, kind of moving into the next vote, right? It's the Tribal Council Challenge. You and Eileen are on the bottom. You're kind of going into that Tribal Council. How relieved were you, or not, maybe not relieved, when JLP says tonight's a little bit different? We're doing a challenge.
Um, this is hilarious. I remember even saying in one of my confessionals, which I didn't air it, which I don't know why they didn't air it, because he might have sounded, it might have sounded like so perfectly scripted. That's why. Because I remember at like right before Tribal, I went into a confessional and I literally said, I need a miracle to happen tonight. It's me, Eileen, and Raymond at the bottom. Something needs to like happen. Little did I know something was actually going to happen. So when he said that, I was like, thank God. I am going to keep my daily prayers every single day because this is incredible. I was also really, really nervous for Eileen and Ray. I was fine. I had an idol. If I was going to be in trouble, I was going to play it. I was really nervous for the both of them. So when he said that, I was like, okay, it's either this can go amazingly or it could have just went the same way it would have went if it was just a normal tribal council. So I was really, really happy to hear that we could have like a second chance. And the fact that, me, Kirby, and Eileen won, like you can't script that shit. You just can't. Like you got a leader of one alliance, a leader of another alliance, and the person that was meant to go home all wins their votes, which is like absolutely perfect.
Yeah. One of the things I thought was interesting about both you and Eileen's strategy at that point was that you were going to stay OG Rebels strong. So, right, you're targeting Charles, but not maybe targeting Kirby or Scott. Kirby's obviously safe, but like, why did y'all stick with the Rebels kind of going forward, even after they had burned you?
Yeah. So in the tribal council of Garrick, in the tribal council before the challenge, we saw the Titans, the OG Titans, and how aggressive they were with the way they were speaking. And, Eileen and I were like, they are just never going to work with us because we trusted them fully and they were great at lying to us. So we don't know how much we can trust them. However, Scott is someone we can definitely work with. Scott has been like one of the biggest advocates for this whole Rebel Strong. Scott is also very, very close with Eileen. Although they're on separate alliances, they were extremely close. So the way we saw it was who can we read a lot easier in terms of like trust, and who can we work with moving forward. And the way we saw that was, okay, Kelly is close with Raymond. She'd be open to the idea of Rebel Strong. Eileen is close with Scott. Scott would be open to the idea of Rebel Strong. Also, we know them. We know, if they lied to us or not. We know them well enough. Whereas in the OG Titans, we didn't, and they were just so closed off working with any of us. Which is why I said, I'm like, would any of you guys consider working with us? And then Charles went from no to yes. And Valeria, I could tell she just didn't want to work with me after this whole like you're not the best leader type of speech. I'm like, okay, well, if you say you're going to work with me, you're just lying at this point because 10 minutes ago I wasn't the best leader. And Winner just was with Winner. I actually was really, really close with Winner, like very close. We got really close, and the fact that he still didn't vote with me before tells me, okay, well, nothing's going to convince this guy. So the way I saw it was who is workable moving forward. So we just pitched this whole Rebel Strong idea. And I think that was the best move moving forward, definitely. And it was also like a way to prove to the OG Rebels, hey, we're not touching either of you because we do want to be Rebel Strong. We're going to get one of the Titans out. And like I think I remember saying to the Titans, like, one of you guys are going home tonight, to all three of them. So I think it was definitely the better choice.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Well, it sounds like decisive leadership skills. So that's a form of leadership, right? We'll
Yes.
take that.
Yeah.
All right. So one last question related to this challenge. I'm sure you've talked about it on other podcasts,
Yeah.
but we haven't had a chance to talk to you about it. So we'd love to hear your insight on splitting the vote between Charles and Winna. How did you come up with that move? Why Charles and Winna in particular, especially with like Winna having this idol and kind of asking to be for votes to go on him? Like, what was going on?
Yeah, this was a really cool moment. So how did we decide? We decided because we knew Val and Kirby got quite close. So if we did want to work with Kirby or any of them, Val would be the most loyal to the OG Rebels. Also, Val was the most open in working with Eileen. So I was like, again, we're not going to close that door. If she's open to working with Eileen, then there's a possibility she'd be open to working, with me, at least out of all the three.
Mm-hmm.
And then we then decided, okay, so it's going to be either Winna or Charles. And then he actually started with, we want to lean towards Charles, just stack votes on Charles. And then it was just a light bulb moment in my head. I'm like, no, the obvious move is to just split. I'll write down Winna. Eileen, you write down Charles. And if there's an idol, they'll play it. We go to a revo and we get one of them out. It's like a guaranteed, like we can't lose.
Yeah.
So we do that. We come back. And so there's a thing in my culture where we say something called Wallah. Wallah means you swear by God. And I can't lie when I say that. If I say Wallah, I'm doing something, I'm telling 100% truth. And Winna is from Sydney, and he knows, there's a lot of Middle Eastern people in Sydney. So he knows that. So he goes to me, and this is what makes him play the idol. He goes to me, he's like, Feras, say Wallah, you wrote my name down. And I look at him, and I'm like, shit, he knows. He knows Wallah. He knows the whole thing. I can't lie to him. If I say no, it's going to look obvious. Like, what do I say? And then I think, and I'm like, wait, I did write his name down. And it's a split vote, so it doesn't matter. So I look at him, I'm like, Wallah, I wrote your name down. So he's like, awesome. I'm getting up, and like he gets one step ahead of us. He's like, yeah, it's my name. I'm sweet. I'm going to play this idol. So he plays the idol. Winner name comes out. He's all happy, and this is why they all look so shocked, because it didn't occur to them that we can actually split the vote. That's how that came about. And I wish they aired it as well, because that's literally the reason why he got up and he played his idol. But yeah, very, very fun night.
See, Alex, this is why Feras is a Team Caleb winner pick. He knows what's up and how to play this game.
Oh, that's right. I actually forgot about that. Alex, I'm still holding on to that for you, man.
That's fine. I was trying to minimize it as much as possible. I didn't want to bring it up. Hopefully you didn't remember,
Oh, I won't let him forget. Don't you worry. Well, Feras, headed into the merge, right? You're going in with kind of even numbers. We don't really know where it's going to go, but what is your strategy heading into what is like one of the most interesting times of the game?
Yeah. That first day was so chaotic. There were so many people talking with so many people. And going into merge, this is where me and Kirby start to realize, okay, we need each other without actually, saying it. So we go on to Rebels Beach, and it is just chaos. It's literally like high school. There's one group speaking to another group, and then within those groups, they're having their own conversations. And it was just me and Kirby just standing back and just watching all the chaos happen. We wanted to observe who's with who, where are the first groups being formed, who's splitting up first, so we can understand more about the dynamics. Because keep in mind, especially me, I haven't spoken to these guys I've never spoken to some of these guys, so I've got no idea who they are. So it was just about sitting back and watching everything unfold. And even like surprisingly, me, Kitty, Caroline, and Eden, we did not talk strap at all that day. Like at all. They didn't speak to me or anything like that. So I was leaning more towards, working with Winner and Mark to vote out, I think it was Kitty. But yeah, it was very chaotic, and it made it even harder, especially after the unfortunate Scotty situation. We still didn't know who lied with who. It was so complicated to understand the dynamics of the tribe. But after that, it started to get a lot easier. But it was definitely chaotic in the first couple of days, and my aim was to just sit back and just watch everything.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. So we're gonna hit the highlights of the merge. You have a lot of incredible moments, so we want to ask you, a handful of them today. First one, this Eden vote out. So I think it was the third tribal council of the merge. You and your alliance switches votes last minute at tribal council to vote for Eden. What tipped you off? What made you switch at tribal?
It was actually before tribal, so I started seeing all these chats happening, and Kitty can't lie, and so Caroline couldn't lie either, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. I just knew they were lying to me. So we go into tribal council, and then I see where everybody's seated, number one. And then I see Mark and Eden sort of getting quite close, and we never saw them get close, on the beach. And then the whole talks about the barbecue happens with how well everybody got along with each other, and he was like, okay, Kitty Caroline, they obviously lied to me. Mark and Eden are being very, very close, and Bowie's talking about how much he had an amazing time at the barbecue and mending things with Caroline. Something's going on. Like, it's as simple as that. And they're all sitting next to each other as well. So immediately, me and Kirby, we just clocked that straight away. And then I had my eyes on Eden because he was, the person that was bringing Kitty and Caroline together. And he was the one making the plans in the background. So I was like, let's just dump our votes on Eden. And that's actually my favorite tribal council as well, because the fact that Kirby and I could switch, the whole Rebels tribe with their votes within seconds is just incredible. I loved it. I was on the edge of my seat watching it. So it was a very proud moment.
Yeah, so good. Did you think you would go to Rocks at a tie vote? What was your thought with that?
Yeah, okay. So that's a really good one. So on the winner vote offs, just to backtrack a bit, on the winner vote off, when I voted with Kitty and Caroline and Eden, they were saying we need to tell Jaden. And I was like, we shouldn't tell Jaden because Jaden is extremely close with Winner. And they said, no, we've got Jaden. And I'm telling him, I'm like, no, you don't have Jaden, because I spent a long time with Winner on the OG, on the Titans beach. And Winner was telling me about how close he was and how they'd done TikTok together in the past. And they were boys. So in my head, I'm like, just don't tell Jaden, keep him out of it. So I knew that if we did get Winner out, Jaden will be very, very, very salty. And Jaden will be the type that would want to, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about alliances. He'll be like, I'll get whoever the hell I want out. So that then led into the whole Eden vote off. And I was like, if there is anyone that's going to flip right now, it's going to be Jaden to get revenge on the whole situation. And obviously it wasn't a guarantee, but it was a risk I was willing to take, because the Rebels side seemed a lot more tighter. I had Eileen, I had Raymond that won't flip, I had Alex that needed to just be in an alliance, and then Kirby had Rihanna as well. So we just weren't going to budge. If anything, someone on the other side, whether it was Val that would have budged, whether it was Jaden that would have budged, there was a lot more chances for them to budge. So I knew someone would have flipped.
Yeah, great read, and that's insight out that dynamic of Jaden. We didn't see a lot of him, so it's good to kind of understand his mindset a little bit more. But jumping into kind of one of the other big moments for you for the season was winning what I don't understand was one of the best auction rewards of the season in the toothbrush.
I was so pissed off. I can't tell you. keep in mind the last, proper meal I had was the Mexican feast. And that was when Garrick was still there. Like, I was so hungry, and also like all the rewards I've had apart from the Mexican feast were just like they weren't satisfying. Like it was a kid's birthday party. I had a bunch of popcorn and cupcakes, and I had a grilled chicken, like toasty. Like that wasn't enough for a 6'3", 100-kilo guy. I needed like a steak. I needed proper protein. And also keep in mind the Mexican feast. Once I ate that, we all felt like crap after. Some people were vomiting, some people were sitting back like themselves. It was the worst. So all I wanted was just a nice serving of steak or chicken or something like that. So going into that auction, the first thing I said, which is so ironic, was I'm not bidding on anything covered because I know my luck and I know I'm going to get something crap. So I'm not doing that. So one by one, all the stuff comes out. And then I noticed next to JLP this massive box. I'm like, there's something underneath there. And I think I'm smart because I'm like one of the only people that have realized. Even Raymond was like, what's under that box? I'm like, shut up, Raymond. I don't want anyone to see. I don't want anyone to notice. I'm thinking like a trip to Disneyland or like a trip to the spa or something like that. That's even set for life, whatever it is. So I'm just sitting there all pretty, and then ended up karma slapping me in the face for being too greedy. And he tells me, he's like, you want a trip? I'm like, I want a trip. I want a trip. And he goes to the dentist. I'm like, okay. All right. Well, I even told him, I'm like, step away from me because I'll literally slap you out, JLP. Like, I need a steak. So very, very hard. I also had like a jar of mince. And keep in mind, like, and this is, I don't care. I'm calling out the entire cast right now. I offered mince after people because I'm a nice person. And these people all took my mince. They're like, yeah, I'll take a mint after having fried chicken or all this. I only had mince, for God's sake. So in my head, I was like, you dirty, dirty dogs, like Garrick would have said. But I was like, yeah, I'll take a mint. It's fine.
They got to get that fried chicken taste out of the mouth,
Oh, yeah. Must be so hard.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you from sitting on my couch at home, I was equally like I could just feel the disappointment on the screen. And so sorry that you had to experience that out on the island.
Thank you, Caleb.
So good. So good. All right. Another huge moment was Raymonds Advantage that he told you about. You two were working together at the merge. I'm so curious. How did you keep a straight face for this, multiple day long acting? And then did anyone call you out or try to call the bluff at all? Or was everyone just taking it?
That was honestly, I think that's my favorite tribal council. It was so fun. So Raymond, props to Raymond. That guy was committed to it. Like, I know we only see it for an episode, but he was committed to it for like 4 or 5 days, which is insane, like crazy. He did all of the work, but it was really, really easy for me to go along with it because I actually did feel sorry for Ray, like in a weird way, because he wasn't eating. So I felt really, really bad for Ray, regardless. And then it was funny. We'd be like giggling in the middle of the night about how excited we were, and also about how stupid the movie is. Because keep in mind, I don't think people realize, but we were in a majority. This play did not need to happen whatsoever, but it's Raymond. Raymond, like, he couldn't have gone to a better person. So even at Tribal Council, I'm like pretending to put my head down. And when I'm going to the voting booth, I'm like, walking up and being all sulky. And you can even see, like, once the votes get pulled out, I'm just like I couldn't even hold it anymore. It was and look, I don't think many people got suspicious, but some people threw out the idea as a joke. Like, Alex was like, I remember, that got played. He was like, well, how about we just get Rihanna out, or we play an idol, or we do this, or we do that, as a joke in front of Raymond. And I'm like, oh God, okay, it's the back of their mind. We need to do something about this. So I guilt tripped them. I was like, Raymond, You're really, really upset. We need to do something for you at least. You're a super fan. How about we do like the first unanimous vote, in Australian Survivor history, which I don't think the biggest unanimous vote in Survivor history. Is that something like, I think that'll be a good send-off, for you. And he was like, yeah, that would be pretty cool, actually. And I'm like, okay, amazing. I lock this in, because you don't want to be the person that doesn't give, Paul Ray his amazing achievement of the biggest unanimous vote. So you don't want to be that person. And secondly, to make sure that everyone was voting Ray, I came up with the whole say something nice about Ray idea, where like they'd go up to the voting booth and one by one they would say something so heartfelt to Raymonds. And I know, look, they could have easily lied. They could have easily wrote down someone else's name and just been like, oh, Raymond, I love you so much, blah, blah, blah. But it takes a very evil person to do something like that, and you don't want to be that evil person in Survivor. So it was my way of like double checking, okay, everyone's on the same page. I don't need to play my idol for Raymond, because I would have. If I was very suspicious, I was ready to do it. So it was a very weird but foolproof plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of my favorite moments, just watching it, the camera would just pan over at camp and he would just be laying there by himself in the sand, or I think it was at the immunity challenge. He's wearing a sweatshirt, and I can't remember if it was you or someone else. You're like, hey man, why don't you take off the sweatshirt? He's like, I guess. I mean, he was committed.
Yeah. There was even a moment, so the slingshot challenge with all the tiles, the high tea reward challenge, Raymond whispered in my ear, he was like, if you win, ask me to go on this reward so I can decline it in front of everyone if you end up winning. I'm like, bro, you are taking this to a new level. Like, it's incredible. So he was prepared to do that as well.
Wow. What just commitment, acting, y'all get Oscars for the season. But one of my other favorite, maybe my favorite move of yours this entire game was choosing to go to Caroline and say that Kirby has suggested an all-female alliance in order to like kind of figure out if that was actually what was happening. And you were right. Talk us through your thought process for that move.
I've got to be chaotic with this. So, okay. I knew that, look, I think it was the top 8, and there was 4 boys, 4 girls, and, Alex decides to do this bro alliance. And it's almost like when you're on Survivor and there is a clear divide in terms of, gender or anything like that, it's almost like you get pulled into these groups whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So that's number 1. Number 2, I knew Kirby. She's the type that, she loves women empowerment, and all power to her. I love that about her. So I knew she would use that as a strategy to bring all the women in to go up against me, Mark, and Ray. Like that to me was clear as day. And also you had, 2 power duos. You had Kitty, Caroline, Rihanna, Kirby, all women. Kirby's all about women empowerment. They'd be in a majority against the 3 boys. There is no way they're not doing a women's alliance. And it was a shot in the dark. If I got it wrong, there wasn't going to be that much backlash, to be honest. So I go to Caroline and I suggest it, and I say, was there a women's alliance? And she says, yeah. And you could actually see my eyes just like light up with excitement, but I'm like trying to contain myself. So I'm like, oh, okay, great. And what they didn't show is I did the same thing with Kirby. I went to Kirby and I said, hey, Caroline told me there's a women's alliance. And then I got a bit too chaotic with it, and I went to Rihanna. I went to Rihanna, and I said the same thing. So the only person who doesn't know that I went to them is Kitty. So Kitty, Kirby, and Rihanna all get pulled to the side to speak, and I'm a part of this. And Rihanna literally says, yeah, Feras told us that Caroline told him that there's a women's alliance. And I'm like, oh no. Kitty's going to go tell Caroline, and I'm going to get caught red-handed. This is ridiculous. And thankfully, Kitty just didn't catch on for some reason. And I remember even going to Mark saying, Mark, I've been a bit naughty. And like Mark's, it was almost like the dad that's like trying to discipline his son in school. I'm like, I've been a bit naughty, I've been a bit chaotic, but thankfully it worked out. And yeah, we ended up sending Rihanna home, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, Rihanna.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of my favorite moves too. And I remember watching it, I texted Caleb and I was like, all right, I'm all in on Feras. Like this is the move. This is it. And we've been seeing it. I think it was like this current season of US Survivor, just last week's episode, someone tried to make a similar move and say, like, hey, well, I heard this when it wasn't true, and it just fell flat.
Yeah. What was it? Was it Tim?
Yeah, it was Tim.
Yeah,
was it Tim?
Yeah, Tim, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I saw it. And I'm like, oh, I need to coach you a bit, Tim.
So good. I love it. Okay, well, first, last question before we jump into like the final tribal council, stuff like that. You and Kirby were pitted against each other the whole season. How were you able to work together, work together to control the later part of this game?
I think we were just both aware that we needed each other at that point. You know, she's a massive player, and I was seen as one of the bigger players as well. And we said, like, if you get out, I'm next. If I get out, you're next. And whether we like it or not, we have to work together. And what they didn't show is a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, like pretty sure from Merge. We made sure we were still on separate alliances, but we were just feeding each other information. We wanted to make sure each other's names weren't being thrown out there. So if it was winner that night, I'd go to Kirby and I'd be like, hey, it's winner. You're all good. You and Rihanna are all sweet. Don't stress, you know? And she'd do the same for me. So we had so many chats at like 3 a.m. while everyone was sleeping. And we just made sure that each other's names weren't out there because, again, if she goes, then I'm going. So, and we also got along really, really well. Like game aside, we were able to like separate the relationship aspect and the game aspect as well. So that also helped as well. And going more towards the end, yeah, we just realized we needed each other more than ever.
No. You know, I think a lot of fans have asked, and rightfully so. Let's just say, you know, you keep Kirby in going into that final 3 challenge. Do you take Kirby to the final 2, or is there a world in which you ever would have taken her?
No. I wanna win.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. You can keep your, beat the best to be the best. You can keep that. I want $500,000. Like, I want to increase my chances as much as possible. And who knows how that tribal council, could have ended. Like, I think, we both played great games, but I think it definitely would have come down to who could explain their game more and in a better fashion. And to me, it was really, really difficult to explain my game compared to Kirby, only because a lot of the moves I've done, a lot of people haven't seen. I played a lot more of a subtle game in that sense, where Kirby, everybody knew, Kirby's the one who blindsided Eileen. Kirby, like, everyone knows Kirby's moves. Whereas with me, I needed to really dig deep to show everyone all my moves. And I was like, I'm just not taking that risk. Honestly, it comes down to how well you speak at Final Tribal Council, and who knows how she could have done. She would have done amazingly. So I was like, I'm just giving myself the best chances possible, and I'm not risking $500,000 to beat the best. I could care less. I will win. So that's how it was.
Okay, so Final Tribal Council, you're sitting there at the stools. What was your game plan? What did you want to happen going into that? What was your kind of main pitch? Maybe that we didn't get to see.
Yeah, so I mentioned all my moves in that Final Tribal Council. From start to finish, I mentioned everything. And I even divided my moves into categories as well. I think the category of strategic Feras, loyal Feras, and fun Feras. And I wanted to hit all those points, and all my moves would fall in one or the other. And yeah, literally from start to finish, I went in chronological order of every single move I've done. So unfortunately, it just didn't, it didn't make the cut, and that's how the edit was. But I wanted to honestly just be as genuine as possible. I literally wasn't going to sit here going back and forth with someone. And I did. Like with Kitty, for example, I mentioned the whole female alliance move. And then she was like, you didn't do that. There was no female alliance. And I'm like, yes, there was. That's why it was successful. And she's like, no, no. And we went back and forth for about 15 minutes. And I was like, okay, it's going to be extreme. Like, if I can't even put my name on this move, it's going to be extremely difficult. And that's what sort of threw me off a bit when I was answering some of the questions, because, like, again, I felt like what the jury saw was a move was different to what I saw was a move. The way I see what a move is if you didn't do X, Y, Z, that wouldn't have happened. For example, if I didn't speak with Caroline about getting winner out, winner would have stayed. Therefore, I can claim that move. And so can Caroline as well. And in such a fluid season, there is hardly any moves that anybody has done by themselves. You know, same thing like with the whole Eileen blindside. Yes, Kirby did orchestrate that. She did that. But if it wasn't for, you know, people like Val or I can't remember who voted, or maybe Jaden, that move would not have existed. So the way I see it, in such a fluid season, you simply can't just be like, yes, this is my move. No one else was a part of it, and that's it. And towards the end, it was just a light bulb moment. I'm like, yeah, actually, I have one of the only individual moves, and that's my idol. You know, I've kept my idol for over 31 days. That's my move. I bluffed it. I got through all these tribal councils by myself. No one else helped me out. It was because of my idol. So yeah, my strategy was to make sure I hit all my moves. But once I saw, you know, the jury's perspective, I was like, they're not going to, you know, let me win it very easily. They're going to make me work for it. And I was so exhausted at that point. I was just like, please, guys, just, you know, let me have this. Like, let me explain my moves and just accept.
Yep.
Yeah. And like, I don't think anyone realizes how hard it is. Like, I like to think I'm a very confident speaker, and I can speak publicly, and I don't crumble under pressure. But when you're out there for 47 days, you're tired, and all you can think about is sleeping in your bed tonight and what meal you're going to eat. And you're about to pitch yourself for $500,000 in front of all these people that you had a part in voting them off. You're shitting bricks whether you like it or not. Like, you are absolutely crapping yourself. So also the pressures of it made a huge difference.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, one other question about kind of your pitch is something that we heard from Eileen when we got a chance to speak with her a little bit more. But she mentioned that at one point in Tribal Council, you went through every single relationship you had with all the jury members. Who would you say was your most important relationship in the game? And who is the most underrated relationship for you?
My most important relationship was with Kirby.
Yeah.
Definitely Kirby. Like, I connected with her on a whole new level compared to the others. Only because we both understood what it was like to be part of a minority in the real world, not in Survivor. And yeah, we related to each other on so many different levels, and we respected each other. And again, like, if it wasn't for her, I probably would have gotten voted off ages ago, which is very, very ironic. And my most underrated relationship definitely would have been with Alex. You know, Alex, again, I connected with him on a whole different level as well. Alex is such a stand-up guy, honestly. And he was a very confrontational person. Like, he will go up to you and he will ask you blatantly, you know, do you have an idol, or like whatever it may be. He was very confrontational, and that taught me a lot in terms of Survivor, that I need to be able to be ready for confrontation. So that really, really helped me. So definitely Alex was a very underrated relationship.
Well, perfect segue to my last question. Caleb's going to wrap us up and may have a couple more questions. But as you said earlier, you were Caleb's winner pick. Alex was my winner pick. We like to go head to head with each other. So my last question for you first, I have to. I'm sorry. Is your ass still jealous of the amount of shit that comes out of your mouth?
Can I just give you context to that? So
Yes.
Please,
the reason
please.
why he said that comment wasn't what we saw on TV. So the reason why he said that is because he accused me of being a part of the Eileen blindside, which I took that to heart. I'm like, no, I didn't. Eileen was, one of my closest allies. Are you kidding me? Like, I went back and forth with him, and that really, struck a nerve with me because I was upset when Eileen left. So when he said that, I was like, I didn't. Like, why? Like, and everyone was confused as well. They were like, what? What do you mean? Like, I don't think anybody agreed with that. And I'm like, no, I wasn't. And that's when he said, I think your ass is jealous of your mouth, or blah, 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 whatever it was. So, all in all, I think, his ass got jealous of his mouth when he was, ramping up the Kirby situation and got voted off. So,
Yeah.
sorry, Alex.
Well, I'm not a fan of this Alex on Speaking Llama or Survivor Alex, because Speaking Llama Alex likes to throw in that quote to me every chance he gets at this point.
Every chance. On podcast, playing pickleball, anything.
Yeah.
Caleb, all you need to say is you picked the winner, and that's it. There's not much you can argue against that. So
that's true.
It's fine.
That's true.
Caleb.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, Feras, as we kind of wrap up the podcast just in general, what are your some final thoughts, favorite moments, anything that maybe wasn't shown that you'd love to share, or that you enjoy sharing?
Yeah, of course. There were a few moments that I wish got aired, honestly. One of the moments was me and Raymonds. We were under the tent and everyone was sleeping, and we were thinking about how we can actually prank the entire tribe, because it was raining a lot.
Yeah.
And we said, what if we just poked holes directly on top of every single person except for us? So when it would rain, they would just stay up all night, and it would just give them absolute hell. And we found that so funny. And then we said, okay, well, what can we also do? Once we fill up everybody's water bottles, let's just put 10% of salt water in there as well. So it's not enough for them to notice, but it's enough to dehydrate them as well. So we came up with all these stupid plans that obviously didn't make it to air. Another one was it was the top four. So it was me, Raymond, Mark, and Caroline. And Raymond realized how helpful coconuts are before going to a challenge, because they have so many electrolytes when you drink the coconut water. So he just realized that, and we didn't have any coconuts on the camp. So Raymond and I went and we hunted for a bunch of coconuts, and we hid them by the well, and we absolutely smashed about probably 6 or 7 coconuts all by ourselves. So our bellies were full. I remember there was a scene, and I wish they aired this. It was by the well, and poor Mark and Caroline, they were back at camp, and they were hungry, and we didn't have anything. And I had my coconuts on the well all lined up. I got my buff and I did this, and I tucked it in my singlet. I had my water bottle, and I was with my pinky up, and I was just enjoying the coconuts one by one. there was a lot of funny moments that I wish got shown on air. Another really touching moment was a scene of me teaching Alex how to pray, which really meant a lot to me, to be able to show a bit of my faith. But yeah, there were so many moments that I was really upset it didn't get aired for the entertainment factor. But I was happy they at least showed my coconut wife in the extras. So there was a scene. I don't know if you guys have seen the coconut wife of Feras.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. You guys need to look it up. It's amazing.
Okay.
We had a little art day, and I made a coconut wife. And it was literally just a coconut, and I drew a face, and I had the hair and everything. And it was a little mini series in the extras, because there was 2 proper mini episodes of my coconut wife. And I kept hitting on my coconut wife and talking about how beautiful she is. And I was very defensive and protective of my coconut wife. I threw my shoe at him. And then in the next episode, we actually ran out of coconuts, so we had to sacrifice my coconut wife.
Oh,
And it was a whole montage of how upset I was and how I had to chop, her head off and use it for coconut rice. It was amazing. I wish that got shown on, the proper TV, but yeah, no, it was really, really good.
incredible.
Yes, I know what I'm doing after this conversation, and that's going to go find those scenes.
Trust me, it's so entertaining.
Absolutely. And Ferris, I think this is something we ask every Survivor player, but I'm really interested in your answer is, would you play Survivor again?
I would say give me some time first,
Yeah,
but yes,
yeah,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like I don't know how these people do it back to back. That's insane to me. But yeah, I think if it lines up with everything and work lets me,
yeah.
yeah, I think I'd go back again. I'd like to challenge myself once again to see how. Don't think I'd win, but yeah, I'd like to see how far I can go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Australian Survivor still does not have a two-time winner yet, so that crown is up for the
Yeah.
taking.
Oh, that would be like eternal bragging rights for the rest
Yeah.
of my life. Imagine that. That'd be amazing. I'd love that.
Absolutely. Well, Ferris, we really appreciate you jumping on the podcast for a bit of a longer interview. Is there anything that you're working on in your
Thank you.
personal life that you want to plug, or where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram, Feras Basal 95, on Twitter, Feras Basal, and on TikTok, Laugh with Feras. I like to make a lot of just funny content, whether it's little podcast clips or like vlogs or skits. I love making all that stuff. So you can definitely see a lot more of the real side of me that's not on Survivor on all my platforms. So yeah, it's literally just working on a bunch of fun content that I like to do.
Yeah, excellent. Well, like I said, thank you again for jumping on. For those that have been following along all season long, thanks for joining us. And for this episode, you can always find us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify podcast, Apple podcast at Speaking Llama. But Ferris, thanks again, and we'll speak Llama to you later.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for having me.